Good evening, folks. This is Sean with the History Garage, and today we have an absolutely beautiful assortment of M1 carbines. Now, these are all USGI pattern gun. However, only two of them are USGI production. They are World War II production guns, and that would be this one, and that would be this one. Now, I'm going to go about talking about each individual rifle that we have here on the table. And we're going to start with the first one here, which was manufactured by Quality Hardware in Chicago, Illinois in 1943, June of 1943. The receiver was made in western Pennsylvania in Swissville by Union Switch and Signal, but it was sold to Quality Hardware and finished there. It has a Rockola barrel and an Underwood stock. Now, a lot of people would think that having an M1 carbine with different manufactured parts would mean that it's a put-together gun. That's not true at all. This gun is pretty much entirely original. It does have the update for the bayonet, and it does have the M2 potbelly stock, which did come later, but it still retains its original World War II style flat bolt. That is just something you don't see every day in the wild. To see one of these is kind of unique because most of them were changed out when the guns were rearsenaled in the 1950s and 60s. This gun was sold to Israel as military aid. As we can see, every gun on this table is marked clear. We have the adjustable combat sights. We have these Israeli markings. We have the Underwood proof there, which is the U with the two dots. And we have the 15-round U.S. government magazine from the war. Now this one is marked AI, I believe it is. Maybe we can zoom in on that. Somebody else could tell me that has better eyes. Now, one of the ways we know that this is an Israeli gun, besides the IDF stock number, it has had its IDF number removed from the back of the gun. Now, that's not the serial number. The serial number is underneath the sight there, and we can see the bottom of it there. So the serial number is still intact. However, its IDF number is no longer intact. Just a neat piece of the gun's history. These guns are pretty exceptionally accurate. This gun is extremely reliable. This is one of my favorite guns to shoot all the time. I will happily go and take this out on a Sunday to a local range and shoot 100 yards, 200 yards with it all day long. Just with iron sights, which not impressive, but for me, it's a lot of fun. Now, we're going to move on to the next gun on this table. We are going to do the plain-filled machine rifle. Now, this is one of the guns that was built in the 1950s from surplus government parts. We see that it has a U.S. military bayonet lug. It has the cone flash hider. It has a government-style stock and government surplus lower and magazine release, along with fire control grips. However, you can see that this gun is clear. It is manufactured by Plainfield Machine Company, which is not a government manufacturer. And one thing that will distinguish this gun from the others is this is a single piece on the receiver. On the USGI model guns, and if we look at this one here, we'll see that they're two pieces. There's a dovetail wedge underneath this that this locks into. This gun was simplified just to be one piece, one tang that goes back that the screw goes through, instead of having multiple pieces. This gun was probably owned by a police officer or a police department, which was not uncommon in the 1950s for them to buy commercial GI government carbines. You just join the NRA, you could get one of these. These were literally everywhere. A lot of beat cops carried them. A lot of kids carried them. A lot of people just carried them. This was America's home defense rifle. In fact, if you look at the uprising in Tennessee in 1947 of World War II veterans, you'll see that a lot of them were carrying USGI M1 carbines, and we will post a photo of that up here in a few seconds. And we'll see that the gentleman in this picture is holding an M1 carbine here. He is most likely a World War II veteran who came home from the war, and he bought a rifle and he used it to free his town from a corrupt sheriff's department. But that's for a separate video. Just a unique side note that these guns have a place in American history in defending American home front. There's also a famous photo of Malcolm X holding this gun, and we'll put this up in these pictures here. And now there's also another famous photo of a woman who was featured in a song called Roland the Thompson Gunner. Her name was Patricia Hearst, also known as Patty Hearst, and she was William Randolph Hearst's granddaughter. And she had a M1 Enforcer carbine, which I actually do not have on the table. But basically, it would have been a shorter version of this guy right here on the table. You wouldn't have had all the extra barrel, and it would have been about yay big. She used that in Patty Hearst's famous bank robbery with the Berkeley, California people. I cannot remember the name of her group at the moment. Something Liberation Front. So these guns were literally everywhere. They were common use with the Black Panthers. They were common use with sportsmen. Everybody used them. Everybody had one. You could get one of these guns for $75 to $79 if you wanted ammunition included with it and a bayonet. Now, we're going to move on to the next gun here on the list. Pardon, you can hear my Malinois begging in the background. He wants something to eat. Now, the next gun on this list, a lot of people go, that's not a real gun. And you're right. This foregrip was not originally issued on this gun. This is something that the previous owner attached, probably because it was really handy and he liked it. And I'm not disagreeing, and if I had the woodworking skills like he did to have made this, I would have considered doing the same thing. So this is a Plainfield Machine paratrooper's rifle, which is just a standard M1 carbine that has a side folding stock. And like I said, the previous owner has bolted or has mounted this foregrip to it, and he did a fantastic job. This is an extremely comfortable little gun to shoulder. Fast, nice and light, nice and maneuverable. You got your safety, you got your round bolt. Like I said, all these guns have been checked and cleared before we even took this on the table, and there's no ammunition in the building present. So take my word for it that we're not going to have an accident. This is also one of my other favorite guns to shoot. It has the adjustable sights. It has the USGI style everything. These guns are just a hoot to shoot. And if you own one, I highly recommend you go out and shoot it. MagTech makes some pretty good ammo at a reasonable price, especially because the Russian ammo is no longer available and was never that great to begin with. I have damaged several extractors in my M1 carbines using Tula ammo, and I've had to have them replaced. And if you own an M1 carbine and you have to replace the extractor, I will give you a word of advice: go and buy the tool. Just do not do what I did and get it out and not be able to get the new one back in, and then have to go buy the tool and sit with it for a week in your desk on a bag. Sorry. Just take my advice, buy the tool. Don't do what I did and leave it on your desk for a week in a sandwich bag, because you got it apart and could not get it back together. Word of advice, just buy it. This is the oiler on this gun, and you can see that we've stuck a dowel rod or a piece of metal in it to act as just a spacer. It's the same size because I didn't have another oiler, and this leather has stretched so much that it would just fall right out, and I wanted to keep my oiler in here. So we got there. Actually, I'll show you the needle that's on the inside of it. Old school needle oilers. Go back to your home. There you go. And you can hear it click. The previous owner also took a mechanic's wire to it and bound this stock so that it had a little bit more spring tension on it so that you can really hear this thing snap into place. And that's because this is just supposed to basically work off of like a lobster claw clamping system, and it was not enough. It just wasn't. And whoever owned this did a really good job. You hear it lock, and you will watch it drop. Right there. Unlocks, and then it clicks into place. And it drops right there. One of my favorite guns to just take out to the range, and everybody is impressed by these. They see this on the range, and they go, what the heck is that? What in the heck is that? Is that the gun from Saving Private Ryan? I've had people say, is that a Tommy gun? Because they see that grip. I've had people ask me, is that a grease gun? Because, well, they see the profile of it. Especially if you put that flash cone on the end of this, it does kind of look like one a little bit. I've also had people call my 1919 an M60. People will be people. The M1 Carbine is a fantastic little gun. All these guns came out of a police department, might I add. Different ones. This one came out of Israel somewhere, an Israeli police department, from what I understand. Or the IDF, we're not exactly sure. This one, we believe, came out of a police department from the township just north of us. It was number 3. I know for a fact that this came out of the local county police department because it has the county's initials engraved into the buttstock, a WCSD. Such County Sheriff's Department, Pennsylvania. This gun was used by the Sheriff's Department in the 60s. It was purchased surplus. And when I got a hold of it, it had been spray painted chrome because they were using it for honor guards for funerals at the local VFWs and at the Sheriff's Department. A police officer passes, they bury him. This is the gun that they took out there and did the 21 gun salutes with. And they spray painted it chromed, and thank God they didn't actually nickel plate it because that would have ruined this beautifully parkerized finish underneath. But I was able to restore it and get this gun back to firing condition. That is also where this brass deflector came from. It is the original brass deflector on it from when it was a funeral rifle and they were shooting blanks. This is to help prevent it from coming back and hitting the shooter in the face because blanks do not have a projectile, so therefore they have to create more pressure in order to cycle the weapons. This rifle was used for about 30 years by the police or the Sheriff's Department, I'm sorry, as a funeral rifle. And it's in very good shape. All these guns have excellent bores. The U.S. military did not create corrosive ammunition for these guns. Therefore, all the surplus that was fired out of them was non-corrosive, which means that most of them are in phenomenally great shape. This gun has all of the M2 updates. It has the third leg on the magazine catch here for the 30-round magazine, which we'll see there. That is not present on the 15-rounders or the older guns because they just weren't designed with that in common or in thought. All right, folks, so we are back. We had to move out to our second location due to the fact that it is a full moon and we have some screaming going on. It is a full moon. Anyways, I have Mac and Maya, Evan and Benny, and they're my 2 alligators, and they'll be joining us for our outdoor segment. Outdoor indoors segment. So here we are with the County Sheriff's Department rifle. Like I was saying, that this gun was used for funerals and honor guards in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, or the 70s and 80s. This gun is kind of interesting because it has the M2 potbelly stock, which was designed for a machine rifle, which means that the stock is a thicker, beautiful Very well made, attractive birch stock along with a birch handguard. This gun has a 1944 dated sling made by Boston Car Company. This gun was probably retrofitted right after it was produced, or I'm sorry, after it was turned into surplus. It had a brand new barrel installed on it, and the gun was painted silver, like I had said earlier. Now, interesting that this was the Sheriff's Department's rifle, being that they could possess the M2 conversion kits for these guns to make them machine rifles, which you will see that this gun in particular has the cutout for the selector right here, which means that it had one at one point. We could see the markings on it, we could see the scratches, which means that the Sheriff's Department, when they turned this gun over to the Honor Guard rule, they took the registered bits out of it and put it into another rifle, or it might even still be sitting in the sheriff's safe for all we know. But that's just a neat fact. When these guns fired as M2 carbines, they were fast as hell. And they were kind of clunky, and they feel like they're going to kind of beat themselves to death. Anyways, the M2 carbine is a very fun gun to shoot. It is one of my favorite guns to shoot. And if you ever get the opportunity to shoot a fully transferable one, I highly recommend it. 30 carbine is not the cheapest cartridge out there. However, it is a pretty decent cartridge. This gun in particular was manufactured in 1943, just the same as my quality hardware one was. But this one was made in Detroit by Inland Company, Cadillac Gauge. We cannot see it because it is underneath the rear sight, just like the quality hardware, but there's the serial number and the manufacturer. These guns are manufactured by General Motors to help the war effort. And that was one of the ways in which GM contributed to the war effort. We have the bolt hold open back here, which is just this little push button. Push it down and you hold it open. We have the adjustable rear sights. Originally, this gun probably would have had a two-position flip sight, which was not nearly as adjustable or accurate as these kind. These guys can just turn them and they will move on. They will move. We can see that this guy has been refinished many a times, and that you can barely read the markings on the receiver anymore. He's had a hard life, but he has a brand new barrel installed. Just a very good gun. If you look right here, you'll see some proof marks. That is for the Bavarian Mounted Police when this gun was in police service in Austria, which means it left the country at one point. Now that's pretty damn cool. It was probably taken to Austria during World War II. It was probably left there and given to the Austrians, and then it was turned in as surplus as war aid. And then it was purchased by the Sheriff's Department. That's pretty cool. It went from military to police to police to police to sheriffs. German police, Austrian police. One of my favorite rifles. The inventor of the gun was a Mr. Carbine Williams. He was a prisoner at a Tennessee state prison. He was convicted of shooting a police officer. He was a moonshiner in an operation that went wrong. And a lot of debate was whether he actually did it or not. I personally don't think that he did. But that's up for debate. This gun has the round bolt. It has the dovetail style, unlike the Plainfield, which was a difference in the two. We have the same style of oiler with the needle inside of it and the buttstock, which also retains the sling. Bayonet lug, which did come after the war. If we were to have a commercial U.S. carbine that was manufactured in the 60s by either Universal or Ivor Johnson, a lot of times you would see a sheet metal charging handle, and it would be exposed, and you'd be able to see the gear, or you'd be able to see the lug actually rotate on them. And we will put a picture up here in a second. See that? That's the Universal machine rifles. And then that is the USGIs. Now, being that these guns were very famous in Hell Let Loose and Call of Duty and Big Red One and Band of Brothers, I'm sure plenty of Americans have their own personal stories about these and their grandfathers and their fathers. I bet if they're in the military, a lot of people use these guns to this day, especially over in the Philippines. That is still a active duty service rifle over there. And I've seen these show up in Myanmar and other third world countries. These have shown up in Africa. Some of these have even shown up in the Middle East, which is kind of interesting. You can see these guns have an impact on world history. Well, ladies and gentlemen, these guns have shown up everywhere throughout the world and have had a lasting impact over the last 80-some years of their existence. Please like, subscribe down below. Please leave a comment and tell us your personal stories with the Grands and the carbines, particularly the M1 Carbines, because that's what this video is about. But I would love to hear what everybody else has to say and their opinions of the rifle in general. God bless you all and have a good evening. This is the History Garage, signing off. Willie and Mac. And here comes Meyer. This rifle was used for 30... Mac. Hey, buddy. And you will also notice... Mac. Mac! Come here. All right. Get it out of your mouth. It's my little Hoover. Mac. Maya.
Oh, did he really? Did he bleed?
He bit you. He's sensitive.
Yeah. Yeah, either that or one of these other buildings in here.
History. Mac! Give me the stone. Give me the stone. Sorry about that. He is being a little bastard. I have to keep watching him, otherwise he's gonna go fuck off and go and eat stones and random shit. He's a young man. He's fucking full of piss, vinegar, and cum.